The data does not lie the way memory does. A runner laces up, taps start on the watch, and from that second forward, every footfall, every spike in heart rate, every GPS ping is being written down somewhere. A phone can read it back. 5 trail runners pressed start on that record. 5 trail runners never made it home to press stop. In each one of these cases, the device they wore for fitness ended up being the only honest witness to what happened in their final miles, and what those devices captured turned local jogs into federal cases, viral evidence, and in 2 of them, life without parole convictions. The footage, the GPS lines, the surveillance frames, and the heart rate spikes are the reason any of these names are still being said out loud almost a decade later. You do not think about it while you are running. You think about your pace, your breath, the next mile marker, the shower waiting for you at home. You do not think about the fact that the watch on your wrist is time-stamping you to a satellite every 3 seconds, that your phone is pinging the closest tower every 90, that the camera bolted above the gas station on the corner you cut past has been running on the same loop for 6 years. You only think about any of that when somebody else has to go back and reconstruct your route without you in it. 5 runners, 5 devices, 5 last recorded miles. One of these cases ended with a Fitbit heart rate graph being entered as exhibit evidence in a murder trial. One ended with a fitness app's GPS track going viral as a survivor's statement to the world, and one of them is the only reason a kindergarten teacher's killer is sitting in a Tennessee prison cell tonight instead of walking around free. The first runner you need to know about is Molly Tibbetts, July 18, 2018. She was a 20-year-old psychology student at the University of Iowa, home for the summer in the small town of Brooklyn, population 1,400, and she was house-sitting for her boyfriend's family while he worked out of state. She left for her evening run at roughly 7:30 in the evening, wearing dark shorts, a pink sports top, and her Fitbit. CBS News and the Washington Times both confirmed the device on her wrist was actively tracking her heart rate and movement when she stepped out the door. She was last seen by a neighbor on a quiet stretch of country road on the edge of town. Then she vanished. For 34 days, the FBI and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation tore that town apart. What broke the case was not a tip, not a confession, not a sighting. It was the Fitbit and her phone. Investigators subpoenaed the data, mapped her heart rate against the timestamps, and according to the case file later cited by Oxygen and EBSCO, Molly was running at a steady pace when her heart rate suddenly spiked and then went silent at exactly 8:28 in the evening. At that same moment, her phone began moving in a different direction at 60 miles per hour. She was no longer the one carrying it. A black Chevy Malibu, identified by a homeowner's security camera that had captured the road behind her, was traced to 24-year-old Christian Bahina Rivera. He led police to her body in a cornfield on August 21st. He was convicted of first-degree murder in May of 2021. Without that fitness tracker and that single corner camera, the case has no timeline, no direction of travel, and no suspect. The wrist of a 20-year-old psychology student is what closed it. The second case is the one a generation of women runners memorized by the time it was over, August 2nd, 2016. Karina Vetrano. She was a 30-year-old speech pathologist who lived in the Howard Beach neighborhood of Queens, New York, less than a block from the entrance to Spring Creek Park. She ran that trail every afternoon with her father, Philip. That day, Philip had a back injury and could not go. He asked her to wait for him. Wikipedia, NBC News, and ABC's full retrospective of the case all document the same moment. He told her it might not be safe without him. She went anyway. She left the house just after 5 in the afternoon with her phone in her hand. Around 6:30, Philip tried to call her, straight to voicemail. He tried again, same thing. By dusk, he had walked the trail himself, and by 11 that night, he had called police, because in the late summer marsh weeds about 15 feet off the path, his daughter's phone was still pinging, and the New York Times reporting on the recovery confirmed it. The pings led the search team to the brush. Karina was found face down in the weeds, her hands balled tight around the grass she had grabbed in the struggle. The DNA of her attacker was recovered from her fingernails, her back, and her phone, which had been thrown into the weeds several feet from her body. That DNA, run through New York's familial search database for the first time in state history, led police to 20-year-old Chanel Lewis. He was convicted in April of 2019 and sentenced to life without parole. In February of 2026, a Queens judge rejected a motion to vacate that conviction. The case is closed, and the only reason any of it happened on a timeline that the prosecution could prove is that her phone never stopped reporting its location, even after she had stopped being able to answer it. The third runner is the survivor in this video, and her recording is the one that went around the world. March 5, 2017, Kelly Herron was a 36-year-old marketing professional in Seattle, training for her first marathon. She was running an 11-mile route through Golden Gardens Park along the Puget Sound when she stopped at a public restroom near the parking lot. She was washing her hands when 40-year-old Gary Steiner, a convicted sex offender who had been hiding in the stall, lunged at her from behind, threw her to the ground, and started punching her in the face. 3 weeks earlier, Kelly had taken a single self-defense workshop through a group called Fighting Chance Seattle. The instructor had taught her one principle: hit with the hardest bone you have into the softest part you can reach. ABC News, HuffPost, and KIRO 7 all confirmed the same moment that Kelly says she remembers, screaming at the top of her lungs through the entire fight. Not today, not today. She broke loose, made it out of the stall, and a stranger named Maurice in the parking lot helped her lock the bathroom door with a carabiner from his backpack until police arrived. What turned this from a local story into a global one was the watch on her wrist. Her GPS fitness tracker had been recording her entire run, and when she pulled it up later that evening to see the route, the trace inside the bathroom was a knot of red lines thrashing back and forth across a 6-foot square. She posted that GPS map on Instagram alongside a photo of her swollen, bloody face. Within 48 hours, the image had been picked up by Fox News, Task and Purpose, Women's Running, and over 100 other outlets. Steiner was convicted and sentenced. He died in prison the following year. Kelly's GPS line is now used in self-defense classes across the country as a visual record of exactly what an attempted assault looks like when a victim fights back hard enough to be the only one walking out of the room. The fourth case is one a lot of people forgot how to spell because the headlines kept changing the angle. Eliza Fletcher, September 2, 2022. She was a 34-year-old kindergarten teacher in Memphis, Tennessee, married, mother of 2, and she ran every weekday at 4 in the morning before the sun was up, before her kids needed breakfast, before her husband's alarm went off. She left her front door at roughly 4:20 that Friday in a pink top and purple Lululemon shorts. ABC News and The Washington Post both confirmed the timeline. At 4:24, a security camera mounted outside a building on Central Avenue near the University of Memphis campus caught a black GMC Terrain driving past her, doubling back and parking in a lot directly in her path. The SUV sat there, engine running, for 4 minutes. The same camera then captured a man getting out, sprinting toward her, slamming her into the passenger side of the vehicle, and driving off. Police had the footage within hours. They had a partial plate. They had DNA on a pair of slide sandals recovered at the scene, and the DNA came back to 38-year-old Cleotha Abston, a man who had been convicted of a similar abduction in Memphis 16 years earlier and released early. A second surveillance camera at the Longview Garden Apartments caught Abston cleaning out the SUV at 7:57 that same morning. Eliza's body was found Monday behind a vacant duplex. Abston pleaded guilty in November of 2024 and was sentenced to life without parole plus 80 years. Every single piece of that conviction came back to one thing: the camera at the corner of Central Avenue had been recording on a continuous loop, and 4 minutes of grainy black and white footage was enough to put a face, a vehicle, and a license plate on a man who had counted on the pre-dawn dark to hide him. The fifth case is the one that did not end with a courtroom. It ended with a story for the rest of us. February 4, 2019. Travis Kaufman was a 31-year-old trail runner who hit the West Ridge Trail in Laurie State Park just outside Fort Collins, Colorado, on a clear Monday afternoon. He was about 3 miles in when he heard pine needles crunch behind him. He turned, and a juvenile mountain lion, around 40 pounds, was already mid-lunge. The cat sank its claws into his arm and clamped its jaws onto his right wrist. The Washington Post, NPR, CNN, and Colorado Public Radio all carried the same account he gave at the press conference a week later. Travis and the cat tumbled together more than 20 feet off the trail into a gully. For the next 10 minutes, he fought a wild predator with his bare hands. He got a rock. He hit the animal in the head. He worked his right foot onto the cat's throat and pressed down with his full body weight until it stopped moving. Then he walked himself, bleeding from the face and wrist, 3 miles back to the trailhead. He had no GoPro that day, but the trail itself had a record. His running watch logged his pace dropping to 0 at the exact moment the attack started, then a frantic burst of unsteady movement, then nothing for 9 minutes, then a slow, staggered walk back out. Colorado Parks and Wildlife recovered the cat's body the next day, performed a necropsy, and confirmed Travis's account in full. His face needed 28 stitches. His wrist was punctured to the bone. The Colorado Sun followed up with him 6 months later. He was back on the same trail, running alone, with a louder watch and a heavier rock in his hand. Here is what every one of these 5 cases has in common. And it is the detail that the FBI, search and rescue, and forensic data analysts will hammer into you the second you sit down with them. The device tells the truth. People lie, witnesses misremember, suspects rehearse their alibis, but a Fitbit logging a heart rate at 168 beats per minute and then flatlining at 8:28 in the evening does not have an opinion about what happened. The phone pinging a tower at the corner of Spring Creek Park does not need a translator. The GPS line scribbling itself into a 6-foot square inside a public bathroom is not editorializing. It is just reporting where the body was, second by second, until the body stopped moving or started moving differently. In every one of these 5 cases, the recording on the runner's wrist, in their pocket, or on the corner of the street they passed is what gave investigators a starting line. Without it, Molly Tibbetts is a missing persons flyer that goes yellow on a telephone pole. Without it, Eliza Fletcher is a husband's late morning phone call that nobody can trace. Without it, Kelly Herron is a bruised face with no record of the fight. There is one more pattern worth saying out loud. 4 of these 5 attacks happened either before sunrise or after sunset, on routes the runner had run dozens of times before, within a mile of their own home. The predictability of a runner's schedule, the same path every morning, the same parking lot at the same time, is exactly what every law enforcement profile of stranger attacks against women warns about. Molly Tibbetts ran the same loop most evenings. Karina Vetrano ran the same Spring Creek Park trail every afternoon. Eliza Fletcher had run that exact 4 in the morning route along Central Avenue for years. Kelly Herron stopped at the same bathroom every long-run Sunday. The watch on the wrist is the one thing in that pattern that the attacker cannot predict, cannot disable, and cannot outrun. So here is the question the comments are going to argue over for the next month, and I want to know which side you land on. If you are out there running alone before sunrise or after dark, and you have a choice between a phone with full tracking on, a fitness watch that pings a satellite every 30 seconds, or pepper spray in your hand, what is the one piece of equipment you absolutely will not leave the driveway without? Drop your answer in the comments and tell me why, because every runner watching this is reading those replies right now. If this video made you stop and think about your own route, hit the like button so it lands in front of every solo runner on this platform, and share it with the friend who keeps insisting the trail at 5 in the morning is fine. Make sure you're subscribed, because next week we're going inside the 4 most disturbing surveillance recordings ever captured at U.S. National Park trailheads, and one of them shows a vehicle that police are still trying to identify in 2026.